In this video, we're exposing 4 tractors that promised to change farming forever, but instead became legendary cautionary tales. This isn't just about minor quirks or a few bad reviews. We're talking about fundamental flaws in engineering and reliability that could bring a family farm to its knees. These are the machines that turn profits into problems and drain your bank account faster than a busted hydraulic line. And you'll definitely want to stick around for our #1 pick. It was a machine from the most trusted name in farming that became one of the most infamous engineering disasters in agricultural history. This isn't just a list, it's a guide to protect your investment, your time, your money, and your sanity. Let's get started. Number 4, the Massey Ferguson 1150. Coming in at number 4 is a machine born from the horsepower wars of the early 1970s. A tractor that promised the heart and soul of American muscle, the Massey Ferguson 1150. In an era where more power was the answer to every question, Massey Ferguson made a bold and audacious gamble. While their competitors were perfecting reliable 6-cylinder engines, Massey decided to shoehorn a massive 510 cubic inch Perkins V8 diesel engine under the hood. The promise was pure, visceral emotion. It was the seductive, deep-throated roar of a V8 engine echoing across the plains. For farmers raised on the sound of muscle cars, this was the ultimate tractor. It was marketed as a powerhouse, a machine with limitless torque that would pull the biggest plows and discs without breaking a sweat. It was, on paper, the pinnacle of cool, a status symbol you could also farm with. Sales brochures showed it conquering vast fields, the embodiment of power and progress. But the dream of V8 glory quickly turned into a mechanical nightmare of snapped parts and catastrophic failures. The core problem was a complete mismatch of application. That Perkins V8 was a high-revving engine designed for marine applications and over-the-road trucks, vehicles that experience variable loads and RPMs. It was never, ever intended for the brutal low RPM, high-torque, all-day grind of pulling a chisel plow. The engine was being asked to do something it was fundamentally not designed to do, and it came apart at the seams. The list of failures was staggering. The engines would overheat relentlessly as the block wasn't designed for the constant heavy load. The intense vibrations from the V8 were a cancer to the rest of the machine. They were known to crack frames, rupture fuel tanks, and shake electrical components to death. But the signature failure, the one that cemented the 1150's place in history, was the crankshaft. They were notoriously weak, and under the immense, continuous torque of fieldwork, they would simply snap in half. One moment, a farmer would be listening to the roar of his V8, the next, a deafening silence, and the sickening realization that his $40,000 investment had just become a 15,000-pound lawn ornament. The Massey Ferguson 1150 was a powerful, beautiful, and expensive lesson that in farming, the right tool for the job is always better than the coolest one. Number 3, the Allis-Chalmers 8070. Our number 3 spot goes to a tractor that was supposed to be a savior, a machine designed to pull a legendary company back from the brink, the Allis-Chalmers 8000 series tractors. By the early 1980s, the iconic brand with the Persian orange paint was struggling financially. The 8000 series tractors were their big comeback story, and the 170 horsepower 8070 was the star of the show. The promise was a perfect marriage of power and technology. It featured a powerful and generally respected Allis-Chalmers engine, a comfortable cab, and cutting-edge features. The key to its performance, however, was a sophisticated piece of German engineering, the Master rotary fuel injection pump. This pump was designed to deliver fuel with incredible precision, maximizing horsepower and fuel efficiency. It was the technological heart of the tractor, the component that was meant to give Allis-Chalmers an edge over the competition. It was their silver bullet. Unfortunately, that silver bullet fired backwards. The problem wasn't that the pump was poorly made. The problem was that it was catastrophically mismatched with the engine. The Allis-Chalmers engine, by its very nature, produced a specific harmonic vibration, a pressure pulse that traveled through the drivetrain. This vibration was a death sentence for the delicate internal components of the Master pump. The pump's internal flex ring, a critical component, would be hammered to pieces by these engine harmonics, causing the pump to fail completely and without warning. For the farmer, the result was infuriating. The tractor would be running perfectly in the middle of a critical planting or harvest window, and then it would just die. No sputtering, no warning signs, just silence. It left farmers stranded and helpless. To compound the misery, the pumps were incredibly complex and expensive. Most local dealers didn't have the expertise to rebuild them, meaning a costly replacement was the only option. Allis-Chalmers was aware of the problem and frantically tried to engineer fixes, including new dampeners, but the tractor's reputation was already destroyed. The 8070 became known as the tractor you couldn't trust, a powerful machine with a glass jaw. This widespread, high-profile failure shattered customer confidence and was a major factor in the eventual bankruptcy and sale of Allis-Chalmers Company. Number 2. The International Harvester 4300. For our number 2 spot, we have a machine that wasn't just a new model, but an entirely new species of tractor. It was a radical, out-of-the-box idea that promised to solve the biggest problem in high-horsepower farming: the International Harvester 4300. In the late 1960s, as tractors got more powerful, getting that power to the ground was the main challenge. IH looked at the competition, like the articulated Steiger and versatile tractors that bent in the middle, and decided to go a completely different way. The promise of the 4300 was ultimate traction through perfect balance. Instead of a large and small tire setup or a complex articulating joint, the 4300 was built on a rigid frame with 4 massive, equally sized tires. It looked less like a farm tractor and more like a colossal monster truck. The theory was that by distributing the machine's immense weight perfectly over 4 huge patches of rubber, it would achieve incredible pulling power with minimal soil compaction. It was a bold, brilliant concept that promised to outpull and outperform everything else in the field. In reality, the IH 4300 was a clumsy, awkward, and mechanically fragile disaster. The core of its failure was that radical design. Because the frame didn't bend, the 4300 had to steer with its front wheels, like a car. With those gigantic tires, the turning radius was abysmal. Farmers joked it needed 40 acres to turn around. This made it nearly useless for any task that required maneuverability, like planting or cultivating. But its clumsiness was the least of its problems. The entire front axle and steering assembly were nowhere near strong enough to handle the incredible forces at play. The stress of turning those huge, weighted tires while pulling a heavy implement would systematically destroy the front end of the tractor. The complex bar and knuckle steering joints would wear out and fail. The transfer gearboxes that sent power to the front wheels were a constant source of trouble, frequently breaking under the immense torque. It was a maintenance nightmare, with owners constantly pouring money into rebuilding the front axle just to keep it in the field. The IH 4300 was a classic example of a fantastic idea on paper that simply did not work in the dirt. It was a dead-end evolutionary branch in tractor design, a clumsy giant that was quickly rendered obsolete by the far superior articulated tractors that it was designed to beat. Number 1. The John Deere 8630. And here it is, the number 1 tractor that promised to change farming forever. This machine's failure is the stuff of legend, a story whispered in farm shops and dealer meetings for decades. And it came from the one company that was supposed to be infallible, the brand that is synonymous with reliability, John Deere. We are talking about their first generation of high-horsepower four-wheel drives, specifically the 8630 and its revolutionary heart, the PowerShift transmission. The promise was nothing short of the end of farming as they knew it. In the mid-1970s, John Deere introduced the world to the SoundGuard body, a quiet, comfortable, space-age cab, and with it, the PowerShift transmission. For the first time, a farmer could sit in his quiet, air-conditioned cab and with a simple flick of a lever, shift through 16 gears without ever touching a clutch pedal, all while under full load. It promised a level of control and productivity that was previously unimaginable. It was John Deere's moonshot, a declaration that the future of farming had arrived. It was a future that was catastrophically, expensively, and comprehensively broken. The PowerShift transmission was a brilliant, but fatally flawed piece of technology. It was an incredibly complex maze of hydraulic pumps,
valves, and clutch packs, and it was systematically destroying itself. The main culprit was the hydraulic control valve body. The valve spools inside were prone to sticking, causing a delay and then a violent metal-on-metal slamming into gear. This shift shock would send a destructive jolt through the entire drivetrain, shattering gears and grenading clutch packs. The internal seals were also prone to failure, leading to massive internal leaks that would starve the transmission of pressure, causing it to burn itself up. The result was total, complete transmission failure on a biblical scale. And the cost to fix it was astronomical. A full rebuild could cost a third of the tractor's original purchase price. This wasn't a rare defect, it was a near certainty. The problem was so widespread and so severe that John Deere initiated a massive, secret internal panic. They were air freighting entire new transmissions and updated parts all over North America, often under the cover of darkness, replacing them under warranty in a desperate attempt to avoid a full-scale farmer revolt and a catastrophic blow to their reputation. The program cost the company millions upon millions of dollars and is still one of the biggest engineering disasters in its long history. The 8630 was a machine built on a brilliant, world-changing promise, but the execution was a hard, expensive lesson that proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that even giants can stumble. From a muscle-bound V8 that couldn't handle the work, to a transmission so advanced it nearly bankrupted its maker, these four tractors represent the bleeding edge of failure. They remind us that in the world of farming, the most brilliant idea is worthless if it can't survive a decade of dirt, dust, and hard work. Thanks for watching.